Well, it's time to address one of the most popular and recurring questions. People keep asking me, what is your favorite sword? And the answer might be somewhat disappointing to you, at least if you expect something as straightforward as me just whipping it out and saying, this is the best one in the world. Wait, metal swords, not organic ones. Anyway, so this is a bit of a tough question for me because I have such a diverse taste. I like a lot of different things. And you've probably noticed that by now. I mean, in my collection there's everything from an Egyptian bronze kopech to a Roman gladius to a medieval Scottish arming sword to a cutlass, a medieval longsword, obviously in no historical order, and this is actually Kara's, but it's still there, a Chinese Dao. So there's a lot of stuff, and the reason for that is that I just appreciate quite a large variety of different designs. My unobtainable collecting goal would be to own one of every type. Well, almost. There are a few which I really am not interested in, but generally you can imagine it would require absurd amounts of money and storage space, so not gonna happen. So I really cannot pinpoint it to just one particular sword as my single favorite, but I can tell you about some of my favorites in plural. One of the first things that come to mind is something that I've lamented before, the fact that I sold a claymore made by Arms and Armor that I used to own, for which I still keep beating myself up. It was extremely nice. I really enjoyed it. Well, you do see the recurring theme here. It also has a very similar guard. I'm generally fond of this kind of upswept guard. There's nothing wrong with a straight guard, it works just fine, but I just find this more aesthetically pleasing. Another one which is very high on my list, which I really need to add to my collection, is the Messer, and similarly the Swiss Saber. I find that to be a very intriguing design, mainly because of its effectiveness. The nice thing about it is that you have the cutting power from a curved blade, which is not necessarily all that much better than a straight blade, by the way, but yeah, potentially it can cut a little better. And at the same time you have the cross guard, which not only protects your hands, but which you can also strike with, and it also has rings at the side, or in case of the Messer, what was called a nail back in the day, which protrudes to the side and also gives you protection for the hand. That is very practical. I definitely like that. When it comes to curved swords, what I also like is an overall S shape, as you would see in a Shamshir, and also this Dao here. The grip has a reverse curve in relation to the blade, and this is quite a nice sword, but what I don't like about this is the disc guard. That doesn't do it for me. It's not so much a problem with a one-handed sword, at least if you're using a buckler or shield or maybe even a dagger, something like that. But if you have a disc guard on a two-handed sword, that's what I have a problem with, which is also one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of the Katana. No offense to you if you are, but it's just not my thing. I don't find it as practical as particularly a cross guard with rings, because it gives you side protection that a disc does, but it offers a lot more defensive capabilities and offensive capabilities as well, because, well, you can obviously strike with a cross guard, you can hook with it, you can do all kinds of things. So that's definitely my preference. And a type that I'm currently looking for is the Rapier. I would definitely be interested in getting into rapier fencing as well. It's a type of sword that I used to not like very much, but I've come to appreciate it more and more, simply because it is such an effective design. And as Matt Schola Gladiatoria recently pointed out, it is pretty hard to defeat because you just get so much reach because of the length, and it's very quick and deceptive in the thrust, so not particularly easy to defend against. But generally I like to reserve judgment, so to speak, when it comes to weapons that I have not handled before myself, such as the Rapier and the Shamshir. So this is really mainly based on aesthetics and on what the design looks like and what I've heard and seen about the usage. But you never know. When I handle them, I might suddenly go, not really my thing. Well, I know this was kind of rambly, not a very concise reply and kind of all over the place, but that's what my collection habit is like, all over the place, and I like it that way. It's yeah, it's all about the variety. It's all about, you know, gathering experience with as many different sword types and then weapons in general as possible. I still need to get a lot more pole arms and axes and such. Finally, I'd like to mention a few that I really don't like, mainly because of aesthetics. And that would be a medieval arming sword with straight guard and disc-shaped pommel, something like that. That looks kind of boring to me. Again, personal preference. I much prefer an upward swept guard and something other than a disc. Then there is the Spanish, I think it's pronounced Chinquidea. Looks like this, and to me that thing is absolutely hideous. I do not like it whatsoever. I'm also not a fan of spadroons. The hilt is nice enough, but I don't know. It's not a type of sword where I appreciate a straight blade. In general, straight blades to me kind of have to be double-edged. I'm not really a fan of single-edged straight. To me it has to be either curved single-edged or straight double-edged. Just my preference. And the small sword, yeah, that's definitely not my thing either. It's just too, I almost want to say puny. It's just too thin and flimsy looking. It's probably not really flimsy, but I'm just not a fan of what it looks like. This was more rambly than I was hoping, but it's about personal taste and preference. Of course it's rambly because you're just rattling off your thoughts. That's all it is about. But well, people have asked for it, so here it is. Thanks for watching.